Hey everyone, it's Asha. Welcome to or welcome back to Reading with Asha. For today's video, we're gonna do my January reading wrap-up. So I don't even think I made one of these for December because I only read one book. This month, I read 4 books, which I am gonna be sharing because even though that doesn't sound like a ton of books compared to my previous monthly reading wrap-ups, it's a lot better than last month and everything is about progress. So we're gonna keep getting more and more each month, but I also have to read for school. But this month, I wanna read way more. I've been spending way too much time on my phone like I talked about in my past 2 videos. But yeah, we're gonna talk about all the books I read this month and my ratings on them and my reviews and everything like that. So let's get right into it. It's the first reading wrap up for me of the new year. I have a lot of books I want to read, and also I have a whole TBR cart, and I've seen so many people doing where they wrap the books on their TBR cart and unwrap them, and that's their TBR for the month or something. And I feel like I should do that after I show you guys what's on my TBR cart. So maybe some future video ideas if you'd be interested in seeing that. But we're gonna start off. The first book that I read this month is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I'm not sure, I don't know how to say her last name. This book was very interesting. This is a very popular book in 2022. It's a literary fiction book. I don't even think the narrator of this book has a name. She has a pretty good life, like a lot of things going on for her. She's a college graduate. She has a job. She lives in an apartment in Manhattan. I think it's the Upper East Side. That's paid for, and pretty much everything in her life is paid for. Money is not a worry because of her inheritance from her parents, but something is missing in her life, and so basically she goes and meets this psychiatrist who's crazy. I mean, the psychiatrist is delusional and just starts prescribing her all this medicine. So she just takes all this medicine to kind of try to sleep through life and not have to deal with anything, and it gets really crazy. But literary fiction book, so I guess you could say that there's not much of a plot going on or any like conflict resolution at the end of this book. So I thought it was pretty good. I like this author's writing. It's nothing really like anything I've read before. The tone was a little depressing. It was pretty depressing. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I mean, I know that this author has a lot of books that are kind of have a depressing tone or just a very interesting description and that type of thing. But I would say if you're already feeling down in the dumps, this probably isn't a great book to read that's gonna like make you feel really good or anything. But it's a really interesting book, and if you're looking to get out of your reading comfort zone and maybe try literary fiction, this is a good book, and the author is a very good writer. So I liked it. I would give it a 4. I think I gave it a 4 stars out of 5 stars. All right, next up, I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this because I went to Florida. I thought that this would be a perfect little beach read book. I've heard so many things about this book. My friend Vanya got this book for me, so shout out to her if she's watching this. I was gonna buddy read it with her, but I literally forgot about that until I read the whole entire book. So also, I'm sorry Vanya if you're watching this. But this book is so good. If you've never heard of Taylor Jenkins Reid, she wrote the book The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, which are both very popular, and for good reason because they're both really good books. This is a literary fiction, I think, and I really like the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes these literary fiction books because they're so just easy to read, and there's always something going on with every character. It's kind of similar to Ellen Hildebrand's literary fiction books. If you guys have read any of those or you like that author, or maybe you like this author, and there's another recommendation is Ellen Hildebrand, because there's always something going on with every single character, and when you left from one character, you're like, what's gonna happen with that character? Then you're jumped into another story about another character. And yeah, so this book is about the Riva family. There's 4 of them. There's Nina, who's the oldest sister, and Jay and Hud, which are twin brothers, kind of. It's a weird situation. And then Kit, who is the younger sister, and every year they have this huge Riva party at Nina's house. Also, this is based in 1983. But yeah, this is the night of the huge party, but there's so many things going on the day before, so it kind of leads up to the party, to like when the party's happening and all this crazy stuff that's going on. But this Riva family is the kids of Mick Riva, who's this famous movie actor. Also, if you read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that also kind of correlates with this book. I don't know if Daisy Jones and the Six was kind of in this multiverse or whatever you would call it, but I know The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, you know what correlates with this? her new book that's called Carrie Soto is Back correlates with one of the characters in this book, which I want to read that after I read this because I really didn't care at first, but now that I read this, I'm like, okay, I need the connection, I need to see more. Also, Taylor Jenkins Reid is a great author. She wrote One True Loves as well. I need to read more by her. I don't know why I don't. I feel like she just would get me out of a reading slump, so maybe I'm gonna do that. Maybe I'll buy a book, even though I literally have so many books to read. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about the book actually, because I keep getting off track. I'll just tell you some of the vibes of this book. It's in Malibu, so great beach vibes, lots of surfing. If you liked older, you like Daisy Jones and the Six, or you like Mary Jane, those kind of books, then you'd probably like this because it has a really good similar older vibe. I'll just read a little bit of the back of the book. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Rebo mansion will have gone up in flames, but before that first spark in the early hours before dawn, alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shape this family's generations will all come rising to the surface. Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family, the night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. So that's what this book is about. I think I gave it a 4 stars. I think I would give it like a 4 or 4.5. I thought it was really, really good. I know a lot of people talk about this book, but I think rightfully so. It's a great book, highly recommend, and it is worth the hype. Next up, I read a book that I had to read for school, which is called Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Adichie. And this book was really, really good. I have not read anything like this. This story is based in Nigeria. The author is from Nigeria, so it's kind of her childhood, but used with different names, is from what I know about it. Not exactly like a memoir, because some of it is still fiction, but a lot of it relates to the author's actual personal life. So I just wanted to highlight that. But this is about a young girl. Her name is Kimbili, and she has a brother, Jaja. They live in a really nice house and are one of the more fortunate families in Nigeria because their father is very well known in the community, very well respected. Everyone basically loves him. From outside looking in, it looks like their life is just amazing, but from the inside looking out, everything is just crazy and terrible. I mean, the character doesn't really recognize how bad it is because she doesn't really know anything else until she's kind of exposed to other things, which is kind of what happens in the book. So the character Kimbili and Jaja, they end up going to their aunt's house in Nasuka. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but it's where their aunt lives in Nigeria, and they end up going there, staying there, and seeing how everything is so different from their life. Their life at home, they have a schedule to follow every single day. Trigger warning, but also this book circulates heavily around religious abuse and also goes into a lot of the colonialism of Nigeria and when, you know, Great Britain took over Nigeria and kind of just started forcing all these changes into the system. That's what it goes into a lot of, and it's just a really, really good, interesting book. There's a little teeny tiny hint of romance in there, and it's an interesting aspect of it. But I would recommend this book for anyone who's looking to diversify their reading experience or their authors, or if you're used to reading books that are just based in the US or maybe the UK or Canada or somewhere where they speak English. And I mean, this book is in English too, but you do get a lot of information about Nigerian culture, different languages, different spiritualities, religions, etc. So I just think it's a really good, important, educational read, and I'm really glad I read this for class. I rated this a 4-star as well, so all the books that I read this month so far have been 4-star reads, so it's pretty good. But yeah, it's a really good book, highly recommend. Even though I read it for class, I still thought it was amazing. My teacher did a great job choosing this. Okay. The next book that I read was very interesting, and you know, let me just give you the premise of this one. You know, I have a Kindle and I have the ad-supported Kindle, so it has the ads on the front, and you know, they always have some crazy ads for some crazy books. They're typically very smutty books that don't have a great plot, but you know, you're just like, you always just see them and you never really read them. So this is what happened to me. I'm on my Kindle, I turn my Kindle on, I see this book that pops up, and it's like friends to lovers, kind of childhood friends to lovers, romance, like easy read, spicy, whatever. So I'm like, okay, great, you know what? I've never read one of these books that comes up on here before, so why don't I just read it? I mean, I'm just gonna read it. That's what I'm gonna do. So, I didn't really understand what I got myself into here, but I read this book. It was called Swallow Me Whole, A Friends to Lovers Romance by Gemma James. I mean, the title kind of speaks for it. Swallow me whole, swallow me whole. Yeah, that kind of speaks for itself. I read it, and reading on your Kindle is really quick. So I finished this book really quickly because there was really no plot to it. It was just a lot of sex, really. That's pretty much what it was. You don't like spicy books, this is not gonna be the book for you. I gave it 2 stars. So yeah, it's kind of like childhood friends because it's this girl and she's best friend with these 2 like siblings for her whole life, and then she falls in love with the brother. So it's like kind of childhood friends to lovers because they've been friends for a really long time. I don't know if it was since they were really little. It doesn't really go into their childhood or anything, but basically when they're grown up, she kind of starts having her eye out for this guy again, and she's really innocent, blah blah blah, and so of course he's not innocent, he's just the opposite of it. So she's like, hey, you can teach me a few things. So it's supposed to just kind of be like friends with benefits. Does anything ever end up like that in any of these books, you guys? No, it doesn't. So that's kind of the premise of this one. I mean, it was a 2-star book from me. I read it really quickly because it was just so bad that it was like, I have to keep reading. Do you know what I'm saying? I just know that that doesn't make any sense, but I know you guys have read a book like that at some point because, I don't know. It was really interesting, and I read it on my Kindle, and a bunch of the authors of their books kept popping up after that, but I didn't want to read any of the rest of them. So those are all the books that I read this month. I'm so excited to read more books next month. I actually think I'm gonna read another Taylor Jenkins Reid book because now that I just talked about Malibu Rising, it's definitely something I want to read, but I also need to finish A Touch of Ruin, which I have, but I haven't been reading. I need to read it. You guys, I have to finish it this weekend. Hold me accountable. I have to finish that book this weekend because I can't keep putting it off. It's just sitting there, and I hate reading multiple books at once, but I just need to get it done. Even if I don't even love it that much, I need to get it done. If you guys read any good books this month, go ahead and comment them down below for me. I'd be really interested to see and hear about what you're reading. I love you all so much. Please subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys, love you so much.